The following is a true story. This video contains images and videos that some may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Hi, I'm the Witch, and today we'll be talking about the second deadliest skyscraper fire in the world, the burning of the Joelma building in Brazil. The fire in the Joelma building was a tragedy that occurred on February 1st of 1974 in São Paulo, Brazil, which killed 187 people and injured more than 300. This tragedy remains the second worst skyscraper fire by death toll behind the Twin Towers collapse in September 11, 2001. With its construction completed in 1972, the building was immediately leased to an investment bank called Crefisul. In early 1974, the company was still completing the transfer of the departments when, at 8:45 a.m. on a rainy Friday, a short circuit in one of an air conditioner units on the 12th floor started a fire. Joelma's rooms and offices were configured by partitions with wooden furniture, carpeted floors, fabric curtains, synthetic fiber interior linings, a condition that greatly contributed to the uncontrollable spread of the flames and also helped the fire to quickly spread to the other floors. 15 minutes after the short circuit happened, it was impossible to descend the stepstairs located in the center of the floors, which were blocked by fire and smoke. The corridors were narrow, and in the absence of a fire escape, many people still managed to save themselves by going against the basic rules and going down the elevators, but these also soon stopped working when the flames caused a breakdown in the electrical system of the appliance and the death of an elevator operator in the 20th floor. Fire, a lot of people resorted to jump out of the windows to save themselves, and a woman actually jumped from the 15th floor with her 1.5-year-old child, and she was saved on one of the most dramatic episodes of the incident. The crowd followed the jump right in front of the building, and the child's cry was heard shortly after the impact of the fall. The mother, however, died on impact. On one of the top floors, according to a testimony of an eyewitness, a boy threw himself to the ground and approached on all fours from the edge of the terrace, but a blaze caused him to slip and he was suspended in the air, holding on to the railing until he couldn't stand any longer and plummeted into the street. With no way to leave the building, many tried to take shelter in the bathrooms and window sills. Other survivors concentrated on the 25th floor, which opened on 2 terraces. On the street, firefighters tried to act in the midst of the confusion established by the police, onlookers, doctors, nurses, army soldiers, and even scouts. Men and women, some in undergarments, their faces blackened by soot, scrambled frantically at the windows trying to get attention, but the helicopters couldn't land on the scorching terrace and the steel cables hung uselessly. The 40-meter magnitude of stairs did not reach the upper floors. On the 20th floor, 6 people balanced on a small landing. There was almost no room for them at all. A young man in a blue suit was clinging very precariously to a protruding part, one of his legs already on the outside of the building, as he was going to jump. Below, firefighters waved and called for calm. "The fire's out, just a little more patience," shouted a policeman through a megaphone. Others painted in a very bright yellow under large strips of cloth. "The fire's out, encourage, let's save them." The sound of the megaphone apparently didn't reach them, but upon seeing the tracks, one of the guys gave a thumbs up, pulled out a green handkerchief, and waved. By 10:30 a.m., the fire had consumed virtually all the flammable material in the building. The fire was finally put out with the help of 12 autobombs, 3 auto ladders, 2 lift platforms, and the support of a dozen rescue vehicles. By 2:20 p.m., all survivors have been rescued. The first 7 floors were garages, and they were not affected by the flames. This part, managed by Joelma, formed a block almost isolated from the rest of the building, with emergency and interconnecting doors. All 17 parking lot employees were saved. Of the building, approximately 756 occupants, 187 died and more than 300 were injured. The vast majority of victims were employees of the Crefisul investment bank. By 6 p.m. on the day of the tragedy, 125 of the 187 dead in the Joelma building had already been removed by the Legal Medical Institute, Brazil's coroner's office. After being identified by relatives and friends, 62 bodies remained, of which 12 are identifiable and the rest completely charred. In 30 hours, from noon to 6 p.m., approximately 80,000 people went to the place to recognize the corpse. The atmosphere was one of the sadness, and even the employees could not hide their emotions. 5 women fainted while making identifications. The coroner's office bought 200 coffins and 50 wreaths to facilitate the removal of the bodies. The victims were placed on the floors of the 4 rooms. In the morning, they already gave a bad smell, and the employees tried to alleviate it by putting incense. The Secretary of Municipal Service, the engineer Werner Zaluf, said that about 30 people who died in the fire and remained in the building were not identified. He said, and I quote, "I believe that the heat during the fire exceeded 900 degrees, and at that temperature, a body is totally destroyed, leaving a maximum of 1.5 kilos of ash. The water the firefighters threw in may have turned everything into mud." The investigation into the causes of the accident concluded in July 1974. They pointed to Crefisa and Termoclima, the company responsible for the electrical maintenance, as the main responsible for the fire. They claimed that Joelma's electrical system was precarious and overloaded. In addition, the building's hydrant register was inexplicably closed, despite the fact that the reservoir at the time held 29 liters of water. According to newspaper Estadão, 3 companies received accusations regarding the case. The Crefisa Bank was a tenant of the building, the Joelma importer, who built the building, and Termoclima Indústria e Comércio, which installed the devices. According to investigations, Alvino Fernandes and Sebastião da Silva, electricians and electrician's assistants, did not have a complete course on electricity and never received technical guidance from the Department of General Service, which was responsible for electrical repairs. The result of the trial was announced on April 30, 1975. Kirill Petrov, administrative manager of Crefisa, was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Walfrid George, Termoclima's owner, its employee, electrician Gilberto Araújo Nepomuceno, and Crefisa electricians Sebastião da Silva and Alvino Fernandes received 2-year sentences. Shortly after the tragedy, a small North American production company produced a short film, Incêndio, recounting the causes and consequences of the fire, using graphic animations and techniques and images from press coverages. In 1978, the North American film Catastrophe was released, a documentary by Larry Savadov, narrated by William Conrad, which dealt with well-known world tragedies, amongst them the Joelma building. In 1979, the film Joelma, 23rd Floor was shot, based on the famous book Somos Seis by the medium Chico Xavier, one of the biggest famous Brazilian psychics, in which the story of a girl who died in a fire named Volquimar Carvalho dos Santos is narrated. However, in the movie she was titled Lucimar. The role of the protagonist was played by Beth Goulart. After the fire, the building was closed for works for 4 years. With the end of the renovations in October 1978, the Praça da Bandeira building was renamed. From this point on, I stopped talking about things on my script, and I'm just going to talk about how I was to search this case, because different news media give different numbers of victims, different death tolls, different consequences, different everything. And there's also a murder case in a place like next to the building, so people start saying that was the same location of the building, calling it haunted, and all those terrible things. Also, there were a lot of things related to being a ghost place, to being haunted. There were a lot of psychics or people who are mediums, including like the mother of the Volquimar victim, that she was into this kind of thing, and she said that she felt her daughter there. So whenever you look, there's a lot of horror related and dark ghosty vibes, when in reality it was just a tragedy. There's also stories of the 12 victims who died in the elevator shaft, whose bodies were never identified, and apparently in the cemetery they start screaming, they start begging for water, so the cemetery keeper had to throw water into the tombstones to cool them down, because they are haunted and they are terrified because they died in the fire. So overall, the story is so tragic and so sad, but people still focus on the mythos of it, on like the horror aspect of it, when in reality that's not really important. That's pretty much nothing. 187 people died. You know, obviously the place is gonna have to be at least a bad juju in there. I don't know. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing. Please consider liking it. If you have any comments, leave it down below. If you have any suggestions, leave it down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.